Houdini has a font sock that's been in there, I think, since the inception, and it's a great tool, but one of my frustrations has been that when you want to change your mind on a font, you have to click on it. Unlike a bunch of Adobe products and other web design, typical design products, you can't middle mouse scroll through it and have the font change over here. You have to click on it. So you can do it with a really short expression in here in a Python script, but I didn't want the expressions in my font because my font is usually inside of a large network or a loop or something like that. So I made something called Fontpicker, and Fontpicker just assigns that parameter with dictionary attributes. So if I get my font here, and we will add a spare input, and then we will add a parameter override and set it to that spare input, and then just drag Fontpicker in, and you'll see that the font changes. And so I'll click on Fontpicker here, just going to pin that open. That way they're not overlapping here. And you can see here, if I middle mouse in there and scroll up and down, I can change the fonts. Now, if there's a font that I like, and I want like an array, I don't want to go through all the fonts. Let's say there's like down here, like 6 fonts I really like, and I like, I don't know, number 14, and I liked these other ones here. Then if I turn this off and move this back to 0, it's going to go through 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now if I go through these, I am scrolling through these font choices that I made as final ones to make a decision on with a client. So the other thing I can do is right now I can't see what font's being chosen because this is based on numbers. In the next version, I'm going to make it the actual fonts in here, so you can just, when you click a button and say use, it'll just paste an array down here. But for now, it's just using numbers, which means that on a different computer, you're going to have different fonts. And so the 14th font on your computer might not be the same as the 14th font on another computer. So know that this is just something locally for now until I do that, but it's good enough in most cases. You're going to be making a decision right there. So the other thing you can do is to make note of what font you picked is just do a transform here, and I'll template it, and we'll move this off to the side and make it tiny. There we go. So if I have a scene set up, I might just throw this in the bottom left corner while I make a decision about what font to use. So now as I move through here, you can see the text is sticking, and then the font name that's being used is in the bottom left. Instead of driving it with a mouse, we can also drive it with some other devices. And I made another HDA called Streamdecker Plus, and that is bringing in from this device here some values. So normally, people use Streamdeck as it is to drive hotkeys and drive applications that way, and not directly interface with the application via an API or some other way. So here you can see the way this is working is that it's just reading the left, right, and up values from the dial. And so, so here in Houdini, as I rotate the dial, you can see it's jogging left and right. But I want to drive a parameter, so I just made a quick blank profile here just so I had an icon on the device so I knew what it was driving. And then what I need to do is go to the interface for this. And you can see here it's looking for a device named Streamdeck Plus. And if I hit active and look at the console here, it says that it's opened and found it. And so what I'll do is now if I scrub that dial here, you can see that it's changing that parameter value. And I'll just set this back to 0. It's doing it based on 0.1. I want it based on whole number. So now when I dial this in, you can see it's based on whole numbers. So if I copy that parameter, go over to Fontpicker here, well, actually I don't need to go to Fontpicker, it's got it up here, and just say paste relative references. Now when I jog that dial, it's going to go through these fonts. I'll change it so it's all fonts, so I can quickly scrub through all of them and make a decision about which font I want to use. So that's Streamdecker Plus. I also made an HDA. I could have put it in one with a picker, but it got pretty convoluted, so I just separated them out. So I also have one for Streamdecker, which is the 15 button device here. So when you push a button, it'll just toggle it on and off. And I also made one for a bunch of AliExpress devices, and so Streamdecker. Unfortunately, Streamdecker is looking for this name, Hotspot. I don't even know what that is, HID demo. And they all have the same name. And you can separate it by the ID number, but again, it just got convoluted. So this will only work if you have one device with this HID name. And then same thing, you can take these inputs and have them drive a parameter, and you're seeing any parameter. Here's a quick scene I set up to test out the Fontpicker and the Fontpicker here, and the some of the HDAs reading HID devices like the Streamdecker Plus. And I also wanted to make a quick sort of tune kind of setup in COPS to try some NPR lookout. So let's look at how this is set up. I'll just go back to the beginning here and get the basic grid to bring into COPS. And in this case, it's -1, to 1, 1, because it's easy to rasterize into COPS that way. I just brought in columns because I wanted the points along columns here to animate them. Point sort won't really work here, animated with $F(T) because it'll just jump to each of these positions. And we'll look at that in a second. So I reversed it as usual, so the grid's facing down Z, and then UV'd it because we definitely need the U's for the curves to animate curves along curves. And then I set a rate per primitive, and then just looped over each of these primitives. So if we just look inside of the loop here, here is one of the primitive curves. And the way this works is it's just reading the current time. I divided it by something to slow it down. And so that's the offset. And then, and it's also reading the offset per curve. And so you can see here, if I hit play, it's moving the points in U along the curve. And I can vary this to get very precise speed. And then if we look at all of them together here, I just reversed their point order. And because I had variance per curve, I got different speeds per primitive here. And then I ran another loop, and I guess I could have all put it in one, but this is fine. So I ran another loop, and what this is doing is assigning text per point here. And so we've got our font here. I'll just turn off point numbers, and that's being driven, this font value, text value, and the actual font choice is being driven here. So Fontpicker is being driven by Streamdeck here, and so let's look at this all together here, rendered out. So we'll look at this and turn off the grid, it's distracting. So Streamdecker Plus, and I will make sure it's active. Sometimes you have to jog it a bit. And so now you can see here, as I change the Streamdeck values here, I'm changing the font that's being applied. And then the way the text is working is here under set text, you can type whatever you want in here. This is 6 letters, so it's doing modulus that total of 6. So for each point on our curve here, so if you look at point numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's going to go MATRX, because it's modulus 6, which was the number of letters in matrix. And so when we set our text here, that's how the text is showing up, letter per number here. and then I set up a ramp just to ramp the color down the curve, so I'll turn point number here, and that gives us the variation in tone here. And again, getting back here to set text, it's just like before, it's doing D at parm, so it's a dictionary, and the parm value is text, so we go and look at the font here. That is indeed the parm value here file. And if it's not the same here, you can find it with recipes like I showed in another video. But anyway, so this is setting the text value per point, and then copying it to the points. And then inside of our cop network here, we'll just go in. I'm bringing in the geometry here, rastering it in, and rasterizing it just where it is here, and getting us alpha and its CD. I'm not sure if I used the CD for anything. I guess I did. Anyway, and monoed it. And so, oh yeah, I did, because I wanted this variation in value. And so I remapped it. And the reason why I remapped it is I just wanted to get the M's, and I could have done that with an attribute at the SOP level, and then just gave that, manipulated the color of that, and then streak blurred it. And the way I streak blurred it, because I wanted sort of a tune-ish look here, an NPR look, is there's a real simple trick you can do by just taking whirling noise and just stretching it like you can for wood. If you want to do a 2D wood texture, and then just streak blurring it here, and you can get kind of a nice, post look here. And then just layered a blur underneath it, and overed it, glowed it, and then we got to put that to a material. Oh, and I also put it over something just to give it some variance, put it over a pattern here. And we take a look at our output. So, and then at the end here, just put it all back on a geocard, and I'll select nothing so you can see that. And so now we go up to our stream deck here. While it's playing, I can see what font is currently being used, and then I can also scrub through each of these until I get a font that I like that makes sense for this this setup. Quick side note: if we go and look at the any of these HDAs here, they do rely on a Python library, so they don't run unless you install it. So go and look at the code here, and look under scripts. It's just basic Python, and I was kind of inefficient here in terms of reading these. I could have made these a lot shorter and made it a lot more efficient, but it's fine. This worked. And at the top, I want you to note here that it is looking for, it's importing who, and then it's also importing HID. So don't pip install HID, it won't work. Instead, do pip install HIDAPI Python, and then that works. Don't add the works obviously at the end of it, but that'll make the HDAs, if you do plan to use them, to work. And then if you have a different HID device, obviously feel free to take a look at these and modify them to work with your own HID devices. There's tons of weird things on AliExpress you can get from China with lots of knobs and buttons and stuff to input that